Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Guys, I have a really exciting video for you guys today. I have been watching this video over and over on so many different booktubers channels, and I thought, why not do it myself? So today we are doing the mid-year book tag. So there are a few questions that I'm going to go through with you guys, and I've actually gotten these questions off lovely Rachel Catherine's page. I absolutely love her videos, so I'm going to tag her down below for you guys and you can watch hers. And I know she did get a few other questions off another beautiful booktubers video, but I'm going to just do the plain simple questions that everyone's doing. I'm really excited to do this with you guys. I have read so many good books already this year and we're only 6 months in, so let's get into it. Now for some of them I couldn't just pick one. There was no way that I could just pick one, so let's get into it. I'm so excited. Alrighty, so the first question is best book you've read in 2024 so far. So I decided to pick Redeeming 6 by Chloe Walsh. Now I read this series, I ate it up. I read Saving and Redeeming in the span of 2 days, and these books are chunky. Like, they are seriously some chunky fucking books. But I really love this one. I think this is my favorite out of the Saving and Redeeming, the set of them. This one follows Aoife and Joey in the family. If you've read Binding 13 and the whole Boys of Tommen series, you will know who I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil too much, but these books are emotional damage to the max. I absolutely love Joey, and you guys, if you've read it, you know why I love him so much. But this book is so raw, it's so real, and I really just, I loved it. I loved it, and if I was to pick between the two, this would be my favorite. This was the easiest 5-star read for me, and I wasn't expecting to love it so much and to feel all the emotions that I did. But this by far has to be my best read of 2024 so far, and it was so hard to pick between all of the books that I've read and all of the books that I've given 5 stars. But this one is an infinity star for me. The next question is, how many books have you read this year so far? So this one is absolutely crazy. I do not know how I read this many books, but currently today I am at 108 books. 108, and it's July, which is absolutely insane. I'm gobsmacked. I thought that I was going to read 100 in total this year. Last year I read 112, and the year before that I read 12. I read one a month. And this is insane. I think that BookTok and BookTube have really just like pushed my love for reading, and I found so many books and I found my people that really just motivate me and push to read. And I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I found them also this year, and I think that audiobooks have honestly just really pushed my reading goal, and how many books I've read just I owe it to audiobooks, I think. And before you say it, audiobooks are reading, okay? They are reading, it counts. And I cannot believe I've read so many books so far. Alrighty, the next one is best sequel you've read so far this year. This was a really hard one for me. I was tossing and turning between a few, but of course it's Swift and Saddled by Miss Lila Sage. If you guys know me, you know that Done and Dusted is my favorite book of all time. And this is the second book that came out in March, I believe. I read it a month earlier as an ARC. And when I tell you guys, this book was so good. I was waiting for this book to release for so long, and it was pushed back because it ended up being trad published. But this book didn't disappoint. It's the second in the series. It follows Ada and Wes. I just love my small town romances. You guys know I love my small town romances, and I love Lila Sage, and she always delivers. These characters are so close to my heart. I hold this book so close to my heart. I feel like Lila is really good at broaching those harder topics and making them less taboo and making you really feel seen, and I felt so seen when I was reading this book. So it has to be my favorite sequel so far. So the next question is new releases you haven't read yet but want to. So I picked 3 books. I had to pick 3. I couldn't pick one because there's so many books that have been released lately that I cannot wait to read. I have read most of my most anticipated reads, but these ones come really close and I'm so excited to read them. So the first one I have here is Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov. This is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Falls series. I adored the first book in this series, which is Loving Romeo. The second one I really liked as well. I didn't love it, but I'm so excited to continue on with this series. Laura is pushing books out like no tomorrow. These books are coming out left, right, and center, and I cannot keep up, but I'm so incredibly excited to read this one. This series is so good. It's the perfect small town romance series. Laura she's one of my favorite small town authors, and she can do absolutely no wrong. So I'm really excited to read this one. The next one that I have is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Lakefront Billionaires series. I wanted to read this as soon as it came out, but then I found out that you should read the Dreamland Billionaires series first before you read this one. I've heard that they make cameos in this book, and I am yet to read Final Offer, which is the third book in that series. So I need to finish Final Offer and then I can read this one. So it's been on the back burner for a little bit for me. The next one that I have is Stay by Willow Astor. I mean, look at that cover. This book is stunning. I read the first 4 books in the series. I think this is book 5 in the Landmark Mountain series. I binged the first 4 in such a small amount of time, and this one was next for me, and it only came out. I was waiting for it to come out to read it, and now I haven't picked it up. I haven't, and I don't know why. There is absolutely no reason, but I'm really excited to read this one. I don't actually know what it's about. I don't know who the characters are. I don't know the tropes, but sometimes with small town romance, I kind of like to go in blind because I feel like if I know what's going to happen, then I end up being spoiled in a way, and sometimes I want a fresh start. Like, I just don't want to know. So this one is really high up on my TBR, and I cannot wait to read it, but I'm thinking I might hold off a little bit because I do think there's another one in this series. I may be wrong, but I waited long enough. I think I can keep waiting, but I'm not going to wait too long. Alrighty, the next question is most anticipated releases for the second half of this year. I have 2 books that I am so excited for. There was 3 on this, but I ended up reading one of them as an arc. So the one that I read as an arc was Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. That comes out in November. I'm going to do a full review for you guys. I really loved it, and that's why I had to take it off my most anticipated reads for the rest of the year. But you guys haven't read it yet, and it does come out for you guys in November. So it is technically on my list, and I really enjoyed it. The second one is Play Along by Liz Tomford. If you guys know, I'm a Windy City series stan through and through. That girl writes some serious book boyfriends, and her fictional men just get better and better. So I'm really excited to see how Play Along goes. That one comes out this month, I believe. I think it's next week. And I'm so excited. As soon as it releases, I'm going to start it. I did the same with Caught Up when it came out, and that book is now my favorite in that entire series. So I have really high hopes for Play Along. I don't know if my expectations are too high, but I really want it to exceed my expectations like she always does. And the second one that I've got on this list is Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. You guys know I love Elsie Silver. I love her books. I loved Wild Love so much, and it just really exceeded my expectations. And I feel like sometimes I have been let down with her new releases. So I'm trying not to get too excited about Wild Eyes, but the cover reveal was gorgeous. The tropes look amazing. They're all single dads in this series as well. And I feel like single dad, you can really just do absolutely no wrong. So I'm really excited for that one as well. And I think that comes out maybe in September. Maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, so the next one is biggest surprise of the year so far. So I picked 3 books because these 3 books actually really surprised me, and I wasn't expecting to love them as much as I did. So the first one I have is one that was on my TBR for so long. The amount of people that were telling me to read it, and I was like, I'll get there one day. And I am so disappointed in myself for putting it off for so long. I didn't think I would like this. I really didn't think it was my type of book. I read the back of it and I was like, it sounds good, but like meh, you know, that's what I was thinking. And that is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh my God, this book blew me out of the park. It blew me out of the park. I have not really read a book like this ever before, and I don't know if there's any other books like it. It reads like a memoir or an autobiography, and it follows obviously Evelyn Hugo and her 7 husbands and her life and her story. She is one of the most famous actresses of her time in this novel, and no one has been able to get an exclusive interview with her. And there are so many aspects in this book that you go through of her life and the things she's had to pretty much overcome. And oh my God, this book was so good. It was written, and I feel like it was written to really just make Evelyn Hugo a real person. I feel like she's a real person and I want to meet her. Like, I want to meet her. So this book was one of the best surprises for me. It was seriously just one of the best. The next one I have is Next of Kin by Hannah Bottom Young. I have seen this around. I've seen it and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. I'll read it one day. But when I read this, let me tell you guys, I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. I absolutely loved it. It follows this sort of next of kin, like, relationship. You have the male character who's trying to get custody of his older brother, but he doesn't have enough bedrooms, so child protection or the custody won't grant him custody of his brother. And then we've got the female character who, her mum has always been a terrible mum, and she finds out her mum has given birth, and her mum struggles with addiction and all this sort of stuff. She doesn't have a good relationship, and she's trying to get custody of her little baby sister, but she doesn't have the financial support that would grant her custody. So they put them in this next of kin relationship where they end up living together in order to take care of both of their siblings. And then obviously they're living together, forced proximity. You know how it ends, you know how it goes. The aspect of this, I can't put my finger on. It was so different. It was so different, and I loved it. And I really do recommend this to anyone who wants to read it because it's so different, and I didn't even really know what I was getting into until I got into it, and I couldn't put it down. I love the relationship between these two. I love the characters. I love the banter. I love the grumpy sunshine, and it's the perfect read with a little bit of trauma put in there as well. So it was all round a really good read, and I was so surprised by it. The next one that I have is You With a View. Now, this one is by Jessica Joyce. If you watched my June reading wrap up, I talked a lot about this book in there, so I'm not going to harp on about it again. You can go and watch that video. But this one really surprised me. I was expecting it to be light and fluffy. I went into it really blind, and I'm so glad that I did because I was so surprised and I enjoyed it. I was tearing up, I was giggling, I was kicking my feet. I seriously love this book so much, and I really want you guys to read it. The next question is favorite author, debut or new to you? And I had to pick T.L. Swan for this one. I've talked about her before. There are so many times I've talked about her books. I will pop a couple of them up on the screen here, but she is the most beautiful human ever. I met her this year as well in February, and I bought a lot more of her books. I already had a couple, and I absolutely am obsessed with her. I'm obsessed with her writing. I've not read a book of hers that I didn't love, and she is technically a new to me author because I didn't start reading her books until the end of last year, the start of this year. I've read most of them this year, and I've absolutely loved all of them. The Spice, The Billionaire, The Boys, oh my God, the fictional men that this woman writes, unmatched. So that is my favorite author so far this year. So the next question is newest fictional crush, and I had to pick 3. I couldn't pick one. You guys know this about me. I cannot just pick one of them. Like, I can't. So the first one I have is obviously Colin Bridgerton from Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. This is the 4th book in the Bridgerton series. I have just finished it. It is so good. If you guys have watched the TV show, you know why Colin is my favorite, and the things that he does, the pure depth of him is just insane, and the things he does for Penelope, and of course the carriage scene. The carriage scene is what really just stuck in for me, and you guys know why. You would have to know why, and if you don't know, then you need to read this book to find out. The next one I have is Noah Riley from Say You Swear. This man would do anything for the woman he loves, including putting himself aside and choosing her happiness over his. If you've read this book and you've read the twists and turns and what he has to go through, you will truly understand him. You will understand why he is my favorite. You just read this book seriously. If you haven't read it, please read it and you will understand. And if you have read it, you know why. You absolutely know why he is one of my favorite fictional characters and favorite fictional men. Oh. And of course we have Joey Lynch. I know he's a bit morally grey. There's a lot of stuff going on with him that makes him probably a big old red flag. But you know what? I loved this red flag. I loved it. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. The things he does for Aoife and the things he will do for Aoife is just insane, and he is just one of the best fictional men out there, and I'm sorry, but you'll just have to deal with the red flags. The next question is books that made me cry. Now, there were so many books that made me cry at the start of this year. I did like an emotional damage haul where I just went through all of these emotional damage books, but number one through and through is The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. This book had me sobbing so hard I couldn't even see the page. I had to stop reading this book because I was crying so hard. Everything in this book is so depressing but so good at the same time. I cannot recommend this enough. If you want a good cry, this book is it for you. Like, this book will do it and you will not regret anything you've read. You sort of get to the end and you're like, Rebecca, what is wrong with you? Like, what happened to you for you to write this? I still think about it to this day. I still remember everything that happened in this book because it was so traumatizing. I was so traumatized the entire time, but in the best way possible. So this is number one book that made me cry. Now, the next question is books that made me happy. So I picked two because these books, seriously, I just had the biggest smile on my face the entire time I was reading them, and I really want you guys to read them as well. So the first one is The Shutout by Avery Keelan. This is the second book in the Rules of Game series. You don't really need to read the first one, which is Offside. I would say just skip that one, but this one had me giggling, kicking my feet. I had a smile on my face the entire time. These characters were amazing. It is a hockey romance, and I guess you can see that from the cover, but it is just one of those books that I still remember because I just remember how happy I was feeling the entire time I was reading it. And the next one I have is obviously Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This book was so dang cute and so spicy, and Elsie Silver really just, she knows how to get me. She knows how to get me with these small town romances. This is Single Dad Workplace. It is so good. If you've read the Chestnut Springs series and you've read Heartless, which is the second book, Willa is the female character in that, and this book is about her brother. Yes, her brother. And Willa does make a cameo as well, and that just had me giggling, like the banter. I love the characters so much. They had me so happy. They had me really just like rooting for them in the end, and I felt pure joy when I was reading this. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought this year or received. And this is a book I received, and it was a book fairy, but I really found this very difficult to find the prettiest book that I've received this year. But I honestly think that it is this book, which is Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. This is the special edition copy. This is the cover. I cannot explain how much I love this book. This cover is gorgeous and the book inside is even more gorgeous. I loved it. It is a small town romance and it is so cute, and I must have all of the special editions of this book. I must have them, and I was absolutely obsessed with it as well. Now the next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of this year? So I picked two books that I really want to read and that I've heard such good things about, and the first one is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I have heard so many good things about this, but I don't know why I haven't picked it up, but I really want to read this before the end of the year. I don't know what it's about. I have no idea what it's about, but you guys keep talking about it and keep telling me that it's your 5-star read. So I have to get to it and I have to read it. And the next one I've got is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Now the third book in this series, Reckless, just came out, and I've seen you all reading it. I've seen you all, and I've had this on my TBR for so long. I've heard that it's real Hunger Games vibes, and I don't mind that. I really don't mind that because I think I will enjoy it. I haven't read Hunger Games in such a long time, since I was like an early teenager, and I haven't watched the movies in a while as well. So I feel like this will be a really good book to pick up. And it is a bit long. I didn't realize how long it was, but I really want to read this one before the end of the year. Alrighty, so the next one is, what are your 5-star predictions for the rest of the year? So I've picked 3 books here. I've picked 3. Now, I do think that The 7-Year Slip will also be a 5-star read from me, which I talked about in the last one, but I wanted to be a bit different and choose some other ones. So I've got Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I've read 2 of her books and they were both 5-star reads for me. So I just know that this one is probably going to be as well. Everyone loves this book. You guys love this book. So I thought, it's time. I'm going to read it. I'm going to do it this year as well because I really am in need of a 5-star read. The next one I have is Savor It by Tara Jewett. Now, the cover of this is just enough to show you guys that it is going to be a 5-star read. Come on, like, it's a small town romance, you guys, but I do think that maybe the length of it might not make it a 5-star. I don't know, but I know that a lot of people love this book, and I think that this is right up my alley. So I do really want to read this because I do think it's going to be quite high up there. And of course, I had to put Beautiful T.L. Swan in this one as well. So this is the Do-Over. This is the 4th book in the Miles High Club series. And I, of course, give most of her books 5 stars anyways. This book is chunky. Like, it is chunky. And I am kind of scared that maybe it might be a bit too long, but I love her. I love her writing, and I don't think that this would be any less than 4 stars. So I'm really hoping that it is a 5-star read for me. Last question for the mid-year book tag is, how many 5-star reads have I read so far this year? I have read a crazy amount of 5-star reads, and this probably won't surprise you guys because I give my 5 stars out like fucking candy. Candy at a kid's store. Like, I'm just giving them out. I'm like, 5 stars for you, 5 stars for you, 5 stars for you. I have given 36 books 5-star reviews. I know it doesn't sound as bad when you look at the fact that I've read 108 books this year, but I do feel like I need to be a little bit more picky and choosy with my 5 stars because I think that some of them, when I look back on them after a while, I go, that probably wasn't a 5-star read. And when I was going through my 5-star reads so far of this year, I was probably like, that could be a 4-star. That's probably a 4-star as well. So I have 36 overall so far for this year, and I think for the rest of this year I'm going to be a little bit more picky. I also wanted to add this question in the mid-year book tag. It is, what are my goals for the rest of the reading year? So I now think that I could probably read 200 books this year. So I'm going to up my goal to 200 books for the year and see how I go. I also want to read some more genres that usually scare me. So that's like fantasy, thriller, YA. I want to sort of open myself up a little bit, maybe to some dark romance or some even spicier romances. I want to do something different, and I think that I need to sort of broaden my horizons when it comes to books. And my other goal is I want to keep updating my reading journal. I think it'll make it a lot easier to do my wrap-up videos with you guys and to really just talk about a lot of books and have a lot of information there ready for me when I finish a book. So I want to finish a book, sit down, really just like write a good review, write my thoughts, write the tropes, write my star ratings down. I have a little virtual journal on my iPad, so I really want to keep updating that. And I also just want to really read my monthly TBRs. I want to sit down and make a goal for myself to read my TBR. Alrighty guys, that is my mid-year book tag. I want to see what you guys think. I want you guys to tell me how many books you've read so far this year, and I want you guys to say if you've read any of the books I've talked about today. I want you to let me know what you thought about them as well. I hope that you guys love this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on post notifications because I'm going to be posting a whole lot more on here for you guys, and I want you guys to keep updated. Alrighty, bye guys.